Hey kids! Tonight's book is Wake Up Groundhog, and it was written by Susanna Leonard Hill, and it was illustrated by Jeffrey Ebler. And it says here that it was originally published as Punxsutawney Phyllis. So what that means is when they first published the book, they actually gave it the title Punxsutawney Phyllis. But this time when they republished it, they changed the title of the book to Wake Up Groundhog. I've actually seen a couple of books here recently that they had done that. One of the books, this book here, Groundhog Special Secret, that one was actually originally published as something different. It said The Secret of the First One Up. So I don't know why they like to change the titles of books, but whatever. All right, here's the title page. And here is the dedication page. And it says, "For Katie, John, and Hannah with love." And that was the author. She signed it as Mom instead of putting her initials like the illustrator did. And the illustrator, he dedicated the book for Eileen. All right, here we go. It says, Phyllis was not like the other groundhogs. She liked to get up in February instead of in March. She liked to be outdoors instead of indoors. When spring rains soaked the earth and everyone else huddled in the burrow, Phyllis smashed and splashed in puddles. "You're sopping wet," her mother scolded. "I like the way the mud feels between my toes," Phyllis explained. Her mother shook her head and said to Phyllis's father, "That's Phyllis." When the stream water rushed icy cold and fierce between the banks, Phyllis went wading. "You'll catch a cold," Aunt Patsy warned. Phyllis's mother just shook her head. "That's Phyllis." When the August sun beat down, turning the meadow brown, Phyllis picked blackberries warm and sweet. "You'll bake in this heat," Aunt Sassy cried. And guess what Phyllis's mother said? What do you think she said? "That's Phyllis." "When I grow up," Phyllis said, "I'm going to be Punxsutawney Phil." "Don't be silly, dear," her mother said. "Punxsutawney Phil is a fellow." That means he's a boy. The other grown-ups laughed, but Phyllis knew she could do it, even if no one took her seriously. And then, one February morning, Phyllis woke up early. She crawled out of bed and crept up the tunnel. The first light of morning shone at the mouth of the groundhog hole. From the big pine trees came the steady drip, drip, drip of snow melting. Running water whispered in the brook. The air was sharp, but something about it had changed. Spring was coming early. She skipped back down the tunnel to wait for Uncle Phil to wake up and make his prediction. "Phyllis, would you quit wiggling?" complained Phil Jr. "Yeah, Phyllis," said Pete. "Some of us are trying to sleep." "How can you sleep when spring is in the air?" asked Phyllis. Phil Jr. looked at Pete. "Only Phyllis would think spring was coming in the middle of winter," he said. "It's not the middle of winter," Phyllis said. "It's Groundhog Day." But Phil Jr. and Pete were already dozing off, which means they were already going back to sleep. Pretty soon, Aunt Sassy got up and tried to wake Uncle Phil. She shook him and tugged his whiskers. She shouted in his ear. Everyone else in the burrow woke up, but Uncle Phil kept right on snoring. "What's all the ruckus?" asked old Grandfather Groundhog. "It's Groundhog Day," said Aunt Sassy, "and Phil's still asleep. I'm afraid he's getting too old for the job." I'll do it, Phyllis said eagerly. Everyone laughed. Punxsutawney Phil has never been a girl, said Pete. And never will be, Phil Jr. taunted. Nobody's going to get the job until Phil gives it up, said Aunt Sassy. Now how are we going to wake him? Dump snow on him, Phyllis suggested. Good idea, said Aunt Sassy. It worked. I believe he sat straight up in bed, didn't he? Pretty sure I'd wake up if somebody dumped snow on me, too. Uncle Phil grumbled. It's time to get up, said Aunt Sassy. It's Groundhog Day. I'm sleepy, complained Uncle Phil. If you're too tired, said Phyllis, I'd be happy to do the job for you. Replied Uncle Phil. Not just anyone can be Punxsutawney Phil. I'm not just anyone, said Phyllis. Is your name Phil? Asked Uncle Phil. No, Phyllis admitted, but Punxsutawney Phil's real name isn't always Phil. He's showing her all the other Phils on the wall. Yes, well, grumbled Uncle Phil, but were you born on Groundhog Day? I was born the day after, Phyllis said. Not good enough, said Uncle Phil. Besides, you are a girl. When the time comes, one of those young fellows will fit the ticket. Phil Jr. and Pete smirked. They can't even feel that spring is in the air, Phyllis said scornfully. We never have an early spring, said Uncle Phil. In all my years as Punxsutawney Phil, it's never happened once. It's going to happen this year, Phyllis said stubbornly. Aunt Patsy chuckled. That's Phyllis, she said. Phyllis wished people would stop saying that. Phyllis, come up with me and see what the world looks like in February, said Uncle Phil. Then you'll know that I am right. Phyllis couldn't believe her luck. They walked up the long tunnel and emerged into the light. Uncle Phil sat up on his hind legs and sniffed the air. Just as I thought, he said. 6 more weeks of winter. And you can tell by the look on Phyllis's face, she's a little surprised. Because she saw or she felt all the signs of there being an early spring. So she's a little confused about why he's saying there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. Early spring, insisted Phyllis. Look at all that snow, said Uncle Phil. Feel the cold. The snow is melting, said Phyllis. The water is running in the brook. Uncle Phil tilted his head and listened. So it is, he said softly. I don't hear as well as I used to. So you can see the water running through the brook here. The chickadees are singing their spring song, said Phyllis. I've never heard the chickadees on Groundhog Day, said Uncle Phil. And look, Uncle Phil, no shadows. My eyes aren't as clear as they used to be, said Uncle Phil. Don't you smell the sweetness of spring? Asked Phyllis. Uncle Phil sniffed. Just a hint, he murmured. And there's something else, said Phyllis. She had finally figured out what had felt different about the air all morning. Feel the wind? It's from the west, the spring zephyr. Well, I'll be jiggered, said Uncle Phil. Phyllis was right, Uncle Phil announced when they returned to the burrow. We are going to have an early spring. It's time for me to retire. But who will be the next Punxsutawney Phil? Asked Aunt Patsy. I will, said Phil Jr. No, I will, said Pete. Sorry, boys, said Uncle Phil. You missed the signs, too. You can't mean, blustered Phil Jr. Yes, boys, said Uncle Phil. This time, the best fill for the job is a Phyllis. But what about the rules? Whined Phil Jr. and Pete. If Mother Nature can bend the rules once in a while, said Uncle Phil, we can too. Phyllis heard the water in the brook and the song of the birds. She saw that there was no shadow, and she felt the spring zephyr. That's Phyllis, her mother said proudly. Phyllis grinned and said, Punxsutawney Phyllis. And that's the end. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I know that some of you saw my post on Facebook about there being a little bit of a surprise. And what I want you guys to do, actually your parent needs to do it, but I've gone through some of my books that I have, and I have a lot of books. And when I say a lot, I really do mean a lot. And I actually have some duplicates of some books, and I have some books that I can just stand to get rid of because, I mean, you know, I don't really need them. So what I want your parent to do is the first, and I'll do this like every once in a while. Like it won't be, you'll just have to be on the lookout. Like you'll have to watch my videos. You'll have to, you know, I might not announce the next surprise in a video. It might actually be in a separate post, or it might be in just like a separate video. You never know. So just be on the lookout. But what I want your mom to do, or your dad, or whoever, grandma, whoever, the first 3 people to share this video with their friends on Facebook. You have to like the video first of all. Then I want you to share it. And then after you do those 2 things, I want you to message me your address, and I am going to mail you a book. So that first 3 people. And it will be a winter themed book. I have several to choose from, and I may even upload a picture. I might just like take a picture of the books that I have available, and let you guys choose which one you want. Or I might just send you one according to the age of your child. That might be the best thing to do, because you know, it probably, if you have like school age kids, it would need to be something that, you know, they could actually read on their own. And if you have younger kids, then it really wouldn't matter, because you know you're going to read it to them anyway. So anyway, so 3 things. The 3 things you got to do: like the video, share it with your friends, and then message me your address. First 3 people. And I'll try to like post who the first 3 people are, so they'll know. So yeah. So be on the lookout for future surprises, because like I told you, I have tons of books, and why not share them with you guys? So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Hope you sleep well.